Welcome everyone out there to Speak, Lead, and Grow, your D57 podcast, where we're always on a mission and we have a mission in mind. Today, as we promised, we are bringing to you Luisa Montalvo, the world champion of public speaking. This is part 2. Now, if you weren't fortunate enough to catch part 1, I need to tell you that you missed a lot. So go back. You can find us at a number of different sites, but go back and do that. But before we get ahead of myself, I'm Dee Marie. I'm going to be one of the co-hosts for today's episode. And my fellow co-host is Lisa. Lisa, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lisa Thompson. I am the Public Relations Manager for District 57, and I'm thrilled to be here. And I'm also thrilled that Dee Marie has graciously taken on the chair position this year so that we have a very rich program for all of you every 2 weeks where we have fabulous podcasts because of Dee Marie. Back to you, Dee Marie.
Now, see, isn't that just wonderful? There's a saying about getting your flowers or something like that. I'll take that. However, before I get carried away with my flowers, I want to introduce you to our special guest, and that is Luisa Montalvo. Luisa, would you give us a brief introduction, please?
Absolutely. Thank you again, Dee Marie and Lisa, for having me. I'm Luisa Montalvo. I was born and raised here in South Texas. I worked at Abbott Laboratories for approximately 25 years up in Austin, Texas. I retired at the age of 53. I accidentally got into the world of fostering and caring for homeless dogs. And I believe I'm working on that now to start my pre-spay and neuter clinics. And I'm thinking that I know that because of the good fortune I've had to compete with Toastmasters, I'm going to be able to use that to help me on my next bucket list item.
Thank you so much for that, Luisa. Isn't she amazing? If you missed that first episode, you have to go back and look at that. You have to go view it so that you can find out what a phenomenal individual we are speaking with. But what I want to have you do today is know that she is the reigning world champion of public speaking. And by saying that, you've already told us, Luisa, how long you've been in Toastmasters. But I want to know what caused you to join the first club.
Great question. I think I may have shared the story, but I had just started working at Abbott Labs back in 1987, 88, and I was going down the hallway to HR. I had only been there 3 months, and after your temporary position there, you become permanent. So I was headed to the HR office to fill out the paperwork to become a permanent employee. When I was walking down the hallway to HR, I heard a lot of laughter coming from one of the office rooms, and I thought, we're here at work, nobody should be laughing and having a good time. Well, when I walked by the room, there was a small glass window, and I was able to peek in, and there was a gentleman, his name is Billy Webb. He was standing at the front of the room, and it looked like he was giving a speech, and everybody was laughing. So I put my ear up to the glass, and I could hear him speaking, and while he's speaking and they're laughing, I'm thinking, I'm funnier than that. So after he finished speaking and sat down, the sergeant at arms let me into the room. And I said, what is going on here? He says, oh, this is Toastmasters and we're having a contest. I said, I want to join right now. So they're like, you want to join right now during the contest? I said, yes. Can I compete right now? And they're like, no, you have to be a member first. So that's where it all started back in 1987, 88, I believe.
Wow, that's a great story. That's really awesome. So I'm glad that you got to join and that you were inspired by the laughter. And I'm sorry they didn't let you compete. I think that you would have hit the mark from day one. So my next question is, did you have difficulties with your icebreaker speech? And how did you overcome those difficulties?
You know, when people give their icebreaker speech, usually 9 times out of 10, it's a chronological order from when they were born to present day. And I would say most of the icebreakers that I've evaluated are in that format and in that style. And I think with my icebreaker, that's exactly what I did. And now that I think about it, I thought, oh my gosh, how boring could that have been? You could have done so much with it. You could have really gotten wild and crazy. But then again, these are all executives. And I believe I was the only, what is it? I'm not sure when you're working on the line, employee that was not an executive. So I didn't want to come off as somebody that they were going to reconsider even hiring. So I kind of toned myself down just to be able to, I guess, get their acceptance, which now that I'm reflecting on it, that's exactly what I was doing. Had I not cared about what they were going to think of me or what I was going to say, it probably would have been a crazy and wild icebreaker, but it wasn't. It was very subdued. And I guess I was just like everybody else. And I hate to be like everybody else. So there you go.
So let me just tell you, you have shared something that I've not heard anybody say when they're giving their icebreaker speech. I've heard of sweaty palms and knobby knees and rapid breathing, but you had it aced from day one. That is amazing. So as you entered into the speech contest arena and you began to win during the contest, how did you manage your energy and your emotions from one win to the next?
I think the question to answer here, or for me to dwell on or talk about, is how did I handle not winning? Because winning's a piece of cake. You know, it comes, of course, with the time and the effort. But you know what? The same time and effort that you put into a winning speech is also that speech that is not going to win. It's very easy to win and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to the next level. Yay. And I might have to get a little better and I might have to practice a little more. But it's when you put your blood, sweat, and tears into a speech. And I remember standing right back here in my backyard and yelling at my gate, said, and I would finish my speech and I would say, and that's the winning speech right there. And I would come home not placing at all, not first, second, or third. And that to me was so crushing that's where you decide, do you want to keep going or do you want to quit? And then I thought, if I quit, that means they won and I didn't. And that just drove me up the wall. So I said, okay, it's time to reinvent yourself. So for 11 years of me trying to get to the world stage, except for 2019, I reinvented myself and reinvented myself and reinvented myself. So winning, I think that's easy because you get up there, they hand you a trophy, applause, applause. You're like, yay. But losing, oof, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I remember I thought that I was going to win with a speech and didn't, and I never competed again.
There you
So
go.
I think it's to your credit that you kept going in spite of everything. And yeah, I'm much more interested in the leadership part of Toastmasters than I am in the competition part. And I love hearing I'm doing a great job. So I think that it's scary to lose and it just really hurts. But let me ask you one other question. Can you share with us any specific challenges that you faced with body language and how did you overcome those challenges?
And body language,
Well, I'm thinking because you're mobility challenged.
right. So you're talking about
walking
this
around
year.
a stage would be difficult, and that's certainly part of what other people seem to be using as their MO for doing contest level speeches.
Great question. Back in 2019, when I first walked out on the final stage, that stage is huge. I mean, huge. And I thought, well, you can run to one end and then come back to center and then stage right and then center, then stage left. And I thought, no, I'm going to stay in one little small area as if it's a small stage and just to make sure everybody in the audience is able to see you. I was supposed to give my final speech the same way I did my semifinal speech, which was without my wheelchair behind me or without me sitting in it. However, the day before, which was Friday, my district director was pushing me, and I'm so grateful she was, because if not, I would just have massive arm muscles right now, because pushing yourself all over the convention would have been a feat for me. And what happens is, or what happened was, my right leg dropped just a little, and it, and the ground caught the heel, and so my knee bent under, and it was so painful, so painful. So I was practicing my speech in the room Saturday morning, and I went to try to stand on my knee, and it just wasn't happening. It wasn't going to work. I could have taken 10 Tylenol and it wouldn't have mattered. So I had to resort to staying in my chair, and I thought, instead of getting up or trying to stand up or do anything, I didn't want to make a face to where people would see I was in pain. So I said, you know what, Luisa, just sit there. Don't do anything. Give your speech. Use your left and right arm. Use facial expressions if you have to, but don't do anything else. So I had to resort to that. And I even had a gentleman ask me, he said, well, some people are wondering if you really needed a wheelchair. I thought, well, that's okay for you to think that, because I probably would have thought the same thing. But the answer is yes, I really needed the wheelchair.
So here we go again, Luisa. You're anticipating my question. I was going to ask you, what kind of situation did you have with unexpected interruptions or disruptions by the audience? But you already described that and how you would handle it. So what I really want to know now, how did you come up with the title? I know the background, but how did you come up with the title of 37 people? Strangers, I'm sorry.
I believe I had been critiqued on my 2019 speech that my title, First Impressions, was not something that would have the same allure to want the audience to listen to me. So the one thing you can do is give yourself a really good title, which is going to make your audience want to listen, because you have their curiosity up now. When I was probably 10 or 12 years old, I went to go spend the night at my best friend's house. She had a Ouija board, or her big sister had a Ouija board. So we were playing with the Ouija board. And of course, I asked the Ouija board, how old would I be when I die? And supposedly the Ouija board came back with 37. So 37 has kind of been a favorite number of mine since I was a teenager. So when I thought of the title, I was thinking, well, what would get somebody's interest? And I thought, well, strangers on the road. And I said, no, that sounds kind of creepy and it really doesn't lend itself to it. So I thought, well, I could say police officer. I didn't know, 37 angels, and then 30, I don't know. So then I thought, wait a minute. I really didn't know any of them, and they didn't know me, and that didn't matter. So I thought, well, to me, there were 37 strangers. So that's where I came up with that number, and then strangers.
Yeah, I think the title really worked. In my journey, a lot of the people that have helped me have been strangers, and that really resonated with me. So thank you for choosing that. Was there ever a time when you doubted yourself, especially getting towards the end? And how did you manage that?
So my journey started with me trying to make my mother proud. And in the last 2.5 years, I've lost the ability to walk. I lost my life partner of 24 years. And I lost my mother. So I thought the night before I was supposed to get on the plane, to go to Anaheim. I was in my car in front of my house and I was crying because I thought, the people you were wanting to impress, they're not here. So why are you doing this? And I had almost convinced myself not to go. I said, you know what? There's always next year. Maybe you'll be in a better mindset next year. We'll just try this again next year. And right at that moment, there's a gentleman in Chicago by the name of Jeff Stein, who I became really close with. I've never met him. And he had been checking on me once a week, twice a month, something like that, saying, hey, are you ready? How's your speech going? Do you want to practice it? Do you want me to help you with anything? And I'm like, hey, no, Jeff, I'm good, but thanks a lot. If I do, I'll call you. So right when I had that little breakdown, he sent me a text, not knowing what I was going through. And it said something like, you never know who's watching you. You never know who you're influencing. Don't quit. And I went, oh my God. And then he sent me another text and it said, your superpower is you're the only one that can be you. And I called him up. I said, Jeff, I hate you. And he's like, what did I do? I said, I was this close to convincing myself not to go. And then you send me this. And so I guess that's a little push I needed to get on the plane the next day. So doubt myself? Yes. I'm just grateful for, again, another Toastmaster that showed up, another stranger that I haven't even met him. He just showed up and he was there and he said the right things. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
So, there is something about the fact that we all have guardian angels,
So,
that they're dispatched to us. And it seems as though yours came at just the right time for a number of reasons. So that was a very heartwarming story, Luisa. But then you seem to be the lady with the stories. And as you're unfolding these stories and accounts that took place in your life, I know you're helping our viewing audience because I know they've tuned in to try and find out, what do I have to do to become the world champion of public speaking? What's the road that I would take? You are laying out a road map, okay? So, in saying that, are there strategies that you could share with the audience for someone who might be facing physical or personal challenges as to how they would overcome those and continue on their journey if they choose to be a public speaker?
I believe personal challenges we're always going to have. Somebody can look like they've got the perfect life, and I guarantee you they're going through something. So the personal challenges we're always going to have. I think if you're wanting to be a public speaker and you're having any kind of mobility issues, that really doesn't matter. That's what I learned just last month in Anaheim, that if you're able to speak, you're able to speak. Whether you can move around or not, I believe has no bearing on how successful you can be. The thing you have to ask yourself is, how bad do you want it? And how much time are you willing to sacrifice to get there? Because it's taken me, if you want to add the other 2 years, it's taken me 13 years. Yeah. And some people may not have that kind of, I don't want to say tenacity, but some people might not have that kind of ambition or drive or patience. Because, it's the things that you really want. Those are going to be the ones that you're really going to have to work for. And they don't come easy. So gauge what kind of level of dedication you want to put into an effort, into your dream, into your bucket list, whatever it is. How much time and how much effort are you willing to devote to it?
Yeah, I'm really admiring your determination and your drive and your resilience. And I just want to be you. I want to have those qualities and traits that you emulate. It's just wonderful having you here, Luisa.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. It's just such a pleasure working with you and hearing your stories, and just, yeah, it's very, very special evening.
Thank you.
So how did you manage the pressure of competing against other highly skilled speakers?
Ooh. I think that all not boils back. I think that all goes to the level of patience I have. Because I was already there at the world stage. I'd already given my speech. I knew I wasn't going to win. And I had my best friend and my cousin on FaceTime when they were announcing the winners. And I'm sitting there with my phone and I'm telling them, when did everybody get good?
Yeah.
Because the level of competition this year, I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? You know, I'm gone for 5 years and now everybody's good. What happened? Not that they weren't good before, but back in 2019, I thought, oh, you know, okay, I can do this. I can level up to the level of competition here. But I got there to the semifinals and I was even questioning whether I was going to make it out of the semifinals. I said, oh my gosh, this is really good. Again, I have buckets of patience. If I didn't win this year, it's okay. I'll be back next year. And I didn't win next year, it's okay. I'll be back the year after. And it was okay because I knew eventually I was either going to get so good that they would have to give it to me, or they were just going to get tired and say, let's just give it to her so she can go home. I would take either one. Either one. I'll take either one.
Oh my goodness, Luisa. You know, you have just been so vulnerable, transparent, authentic, all of that. It is just amazing. But what I want to know, and I'm sure you've described coming up and having to compete against the highly skilled speakers, somewhere along the way, something in your spirit had to say, you just might win this thing. Did that happen? And how did you feel when it did?
I felt that way in 2019 that I came real close. So when I didn't win, I went, okay, I'll be back. And this is when people talk to me and tell me, what are the secrets of winning? I said, there are no secrets. Here it is. I just happened to say the right thing on the right day to the right judges at the right time. That's it. Because so many times I thought I was going to win, didn't even place. Sometimes I thought, well, I'm not going to place, and I wound up getting second or third or first at district. And I'm like, oh, really? So it's so unpredictable. And you have so many amount of judges. And I know there were people in the audience that when they announced my name, I know people said, well, she shouldn't have won. And I get that. I'm not going to please everybody. But I guess I had enough votes from enough judges. And I guess I said the right thing at the right time on the right day to the right judges. And to me, that was it. But I, totally honest, did not think I was going to win this year. Did not. Because again, even though I knew that I had made 3 mistakes, nobody else knew I made those mistakes. But I knew I had made them. And that's why when I rolled down that ramp, I went, well, Luisa, you're going to have to come back again tomorrow or next year.
Well, we're so happy that you won this year and that you're able to have your dream of a spay-neuter clinic come true. So I think a lot of what happened for me in your speech was that you really know how to work the audience. And what I'd like to be able to understand is how you're able to make such a great connection with the audience so easily, so quickly in delivering your speech. That's the most impactful thing, was that connection.
So you asked me how I do that. And I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I have no idea. I have no idea. I think if I knew, I could bottle it and sell it and not worry about anything for the rest of my life. And I believe you touched on it when you said transparency. And I know that a lot of people will talk to someone else only if they see a reciprocation. I don't know if that's what I'm trying to say, but like, I'm not going to talk to you unless I can get something from you. Like, I'll give you something, but I want something in return. And I am so not that person. And Again, I love to talk. I don't know how to be any other way except for conversational. So to me, when I write a speech, especially this one, I went back and looked at some of my rough drafts. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was horrible. I said, I lay there in the passenger van with 14 broken ribs, 2 exposed leg bones. No, Luisa, that's too much. That's too much. So I had to scale it back and scale it back and scale it back. And again, you practice in front of different clubs and they will tell you, you know what? I like people that don't like me because they'll come up and they'll say, you know what I didn't like about your speech? And I'll say, tell me. And they'll say, well, you said this and you said that and you shouldn't have. And I'm like, thank you so much, because the people that love you, oh my gosh, Luisa, it was great. I loved it. Everybody likes praise, but that's not going to get me better. So if I can have somebody that doesn't like me or doesn't want me to compete or is trying to compete against me and come up and tell me stuff, I'm going to listen really, really closely to what they've got to say, because that's where the truth comes. So again, I don't know. My style is my style. I don't think I could be any other way. And I don't even think I could teach anybody how to do that.
Wow. So thank you so much for everything that you shared with us, Luisa. And in summary, what is the one most important strategy that you would offer to other Toastmasters when it comes to them telling their story?
What strategy would I give them to
Yes.
telling their story? Strategy number 1, don't brag. Nobody likes people that brag. Well, I did this and I did that. Nobody wants to hear that. Is it number 2? The most embarrassing thing about you, I feel you should share. Do you think I wanted everybody on the stage to know that I was crying? I don't want everybody to know that I was crying in rehab. Are you serious? But I shared that because it was the rawest emotion I had. And I guarantee you somebody out there has been wanting to cry about something and has not, just for that.
Wow.
I think, and again, be true to yourself.
Wow.
Just be true to yourself.
That is amazing. That is amazing, Luisa. So I'm going to have Lisa share some information with our viewing audience, things that they might need to know or something that she might want to say. And what is that, Lisa?
I am Lisa Thompson, Public Relations Manager, and you can follow our podcast at d57tm.org, the weekly Sunday Digest, our newsletter, our website, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to watch podcast episodes 1 and 2 so you can see the brilliant Luisa Montalvo. And number 3 is coming up. So thank you so much, Luisa. This has been such a pleasure. And I love the strategies that you shared. I think that I tend to brag, and I'm trying not to, but my PR team is wonderful and it's hard not to brag about them. So thank you again. Your stories really resonate with me, and I'm looking forward to speaking more and learning from you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Luisa, this episode was most impactful. We got to hear your vulnerability. You had a chance to share with us what really makes a speech drive it home so that the person who's listening benefits from your ability to embrace the topic and let them understand that they're not alone, because you know that you're not alone. So that kind of commonality and reaching out to the audience is priceless. So let me say to our listening audience, can you even imagine what you've missed if you didn't see episode 1? Go back and download it or watch it, and then get ready for episode number 3. There had to be a time in all of this when Luisa was just on pins and needles, wondering, oh my goodness, they're counting the ballots. And maybe she didn't say that many ands. However, she had to be in a rage, just trying to figure out, am I going to win or not? To our listening audience, have you ever been there? Has that happened to you? And if you haven't, wouldn't you like to feel that kind of excitement? Join us for our next episode. What I'd like for you to do is to speak, lead, and grow. Until the next time we see you.